did communications and projects. The team out there, hello? How was it? Good? Okay.
Fine.
Basically, what I can say is communications and projects, all the things you're looking at up here, risk management, you're looking at, we just talked about resources, we'll talk about motivating teams later on.
Yeah.
Communications is the single thread that runs through all of that. Correct?
Yeah, and you can actually walk back to your if you want to point out the stuff on your flip chart.
Okay, just to give you guys a heads up, there's a flow chart back here in the back on the right-hand side. These were the 5 items that this group came out with. And we basically talked about the communications challenges that we're all having on our projects and some of the methodologies or some of the tools that we can use to address these communication challenges. Basically, our team had one single vision. Everybody at the end of this wanted to be a better communicator so that the projects ran better. So first off, the most important thing in communications is to us all to have a common vision. If we all have a common vision, whether it's the customer, the project team, the members on the project team, everybody's going to have a significant stake in actually making success happen. If we can start off with that, generally you're going to find out that's where most of your communication problems begin with. So instead of trying to treat the symptoms, treat the cause. Figure out if you got a common vision. The next thing was the 4 aspects of communications. Most of what's happening in communication is we're all focusing on one thing. And what is that? Anybody out there in my group? What's the first thing most of us focus on? Come on, speak up. The message, right? That's what we're all focused on. But that's the last thing in the communications chain that you need to be focused on. The first thing you need to focus in on is me. What are my strengths and weaknesses? Get to know yourself, what you do well, what you don't do well, how you interact with other people. The second thing you need to understand is who your audience is. You. That's the other point of communication before you get to the message. The other thing is the method. I'm using this. Last time I used something else. Email, online sources, websites. You got to understand your method of communication. Language is a method. So understanding those components and analyzing what you want your message to do and looking at those 4 components before you release. Very, very important. The next component that we talked about was building open chains of communications within your organizations. And really what open communication is an easy thing to say. To actually implement it is quite hard. Getting communication from the bottom of your organization to the top, there's several rings and tiers involved. What you as project managers need to do is be the communicator that brings that to happen. What I like to say is I translate IT requirements from the IT departments up to the business departments and the stakeholders, and the stakeholder requirements back down to the IT engineers and computer engineers. As project managers, you need to be able to do that and use forms of open communication, such as Scrum does. You get people together in the beginning of a meeting to talk about things shortly every day. Get people out of their offices and out of their cubicles and get them together. You can do that in online forums also, even if you're doing international projects. It's very important, open communications. And then the last, which I learned something about, it's a technique that I've been using. It's neuro-linguistic programming. Anybody in here know what that means? I think Beth knows what it means. But it basically has a lot to do with positive reinforcement. One of the things you're going to do in communications to improve communications is look up this term, find out some of the techniques to use it. But if you use this in your teams, if you use this in your daily life, you'll find out things go better and people communicate better. I like to use it on my students. I call it the Big Mac theory. And this is where the Big Mac came from. Is I like to start off with my students or my project teams telling them things that I see good in what they do. I build them up and I say, hey, you're doing that great. It really looks great. But then there's always that piece where you want them to improve. It's called critique, which nobody likes, right? So you fit that right in the middle where the meat's at, right? You put the bun, you give them the meat. The meat is the critique. It's the negative message, but it comes after the positive message. And at the end, you close out with a positive message. I know you can do it. I know you'll get it done. I'm looking forward for next week. So you use the Big Mac method, and oftentimes it improves communication, it motivates people, and it gets people to work better together. That's about it. I think it's wrapped up. Is that within 5 minutes?
Perfect. You did a good job. Thank
you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Great.